What's up, guys? Broken Solar Panel here, and this is the video of my cardboard mappy arcade system, which was shown in my BSP Easter eggs video. Today you're gonna get to see it working, but first I'll give you a little backstory. This machine was made when I decided to make a working arcade system a long time ago. It was originally just called the Cardboard Mappy Arcade System. Mom called it the Mappy Guy. It didn't originally have this decal on it, but it originally had like a cardboard decal which looked a little more primitive, and it just said Mappy on it. It just had like pen drawings of Mappy and Goro. Anyway, this is Mappy and that's Goro, you know, the cats. And there's meowky. There's all the pink that's supposed to be there, like on their faces, is sort of rubbed off somehow. I don't know how, because it's laminated with tape. Anyway, beforehand it was all just taped together, and this TV, I bought this from Goodwill for like $9.99, so about 10 bucks. It works okay, but the screen is a little tilted, so but it tilts the other way, sort of straightening out, but more or less it's like the display, like what comes on the screen is just a little bit tilted over to the left. You'll see here eventually. Originally this plug and play here, which is what has the game on it, ran on batteries, and every time it was just taped in there. It was a little primitive. The original crappy Mappy, I should say, didn't have all these decals on it, nor did it have this new coin operator door. Yeah, that's right, it had a working coin slot, and the original crappy Mappy didn't actually have a working coin slot. It was just a slot. I just put a quarter in, and then I just pushed the fire button to make it seem like it worked. But eventually I thought, no, that's too pathetic, so I actually made it work, which you will see here at some point. Eventually I found an old AC adapter that I've supplied. It says 4.5 volts DC, but I think it actually supplies around 6 volts DC, because that's what 4AA's is. That's what this runs on. And then the wires just go into the battery holder and power the game system on, so that way everything turns on at the same time when I need it to, as soon as I plug it in. Actually, there's a switch inside that I gotta fit. And when I put those AC adapters in, I was worried about something overheating just a little bit back then, so I put in this fan back when Radio Shack was open, which will keep the innards cool, which is basically just a power bank. Inside, before this and all the other stuff, it used to be just a black wire that had the AV wire, which you can actually see right there. See, we got 3 separate power plugs. We got one that lights up the logo. I'll just take this open, because like you're probably wondering why it's all pressed in like that. It's because there used to be like a flower pot or box. This thing was stored in a corner in the dining room for such a long time. A bunch of stuff was stacked on top of here. But anyway, inside here, this cardboard is kind of delicate at this point. Did get refurbished, as you can tell. There's little supports here and here. There's a little CFL here. Anyway, see, we got the TV for a bargain. It used to be $19.99, and then the Goodwill just scribbled out the 1 and was really generous enough, and we bought it for $9.99. Saved 10 bucks on that thing. The wires go from the socket, which goes to the light bulb over here, and they just kind of twist onto some wires, which were eventually part of an extension cord, which I cut the outlet part off of, twisted the wires on, and then just fed them down here past the TV's oddly coiled wire. This is the TV's power cord, and then into this power bar. Sort of see in there. There we go. Then you can see all the workings of it here. Yeah, eventually I refurbished this thing, and now it has, like, see, the big AC adapter is the one that powers the game system plug, and then the little one's the one that powers the cooling fan. And you can see I just kind of shoved the wires in there into the plug. Let me zoom in on that. You can kind of see, just kind of shoved them in the plug. I've had a few instances where the fan would stop working because the wires came loose, but it doesn't happen anymore because I fixed it. So here are the cooling vents that I cut. Now, yeah, this thing I call the crappy Mappy is actually quite old, so it is sort of beginning to fall apart. It's leaning forwards a little bit. I also forgot to tell you a little more about the Crappy Mappy's backstory. Also, this refurbishes it. This box here, obviously it's a vacuum cleaner box. It was a bunch of things before it finally became the Crappy Mappy. It was first a vacuum cleaner box, and then this thing was a pool table for a while. That's why it has these holes. Well, there's one behind here too, up here, because this used to be sort of a pool table before eventually I cut this in here and then flapped this down here to hold this in place and turn it into an arcade machine. I didn't originally have all this because eventually I refurbished it, and now it has all this, and I refurbished it quite a long time ago as it is starting to fall apart again. Just so I can close this. Alright, let's go ahead and plug this thing in and give it a run. And the reason I call it the Crappy Mappy is because I used to put myself down all the time. I used to call myself stupid. I used to call myself a schnook. I used to call myself dumb. I used to say I was the worst and everyone was better than me. That's what gave this thing its name, the Crappy Mappy. Anyway, let's go ahead and power this thing on. So anyway, this is just a plug-and-play TV game plugged into the back of a TV. That's always in the AV mode. So let's go ahead and hit the power switch, which is this little switch right there. There goes the fan. Now the display, that lights up right there. And now we got the plug and play is turned on, and so we just select mappy and wait for that video to disappear. Right there, it says video. Anyway, here's the mappy logo. Yeah, see the camera's having trouble with the contrast here. The exposure went down when I showed it. As you can see, it doesn't light up all of it because the supports here are in the way. I've thought about restoring this and replacing all the cardboard with plywood, but never got around to it. This TV has manual adjustment for like the picture and stuff. Okay, macro on. There we go. It came with its own little stand. This looks like one of those TVs that you like mount up on the wall on like one of those chassis things, because it has this part. I thought this TV would be a perfect make for this because of how well it fits inside this box. So at some point, like I said before, the coin slot didn't actually work, but now it does. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this. So here's a quarter. Now in the original actual Mappy arcade system, when you put a quarter in, it would say like credits 1, and then there'd be like a boo-doo-dee something. Then you'd hit the fire button and it'd start, or the start button or whatever. And this one it just starts right up because it uses this plug and play. So I just push the quarter in like that. There it goes. And the quarter's in there along with some others. So now I'm going to hold my camera with the other hand while I play this. Although because I was so crappy with building things, it also does work and start if you just hit the fire button, so anyone can play this for free if this was in an arcade. So thank God these buttons are so close together so I can just use this. Now about that screen tilt, you can see when the floor sees, you can see how it's not lined up with the bottom of the monitor. So yeah, you can kind of tell. Alright. I think I'm going to shut this off now. And now the Mappy logo shuts off. The fan winds down. Now let's show you what the coin slot looks like. First I'll show you kind of what this looks like. So we got crappy mappy quarter container. This is how I used to draw mappy. Here's some of the reinforcements that I've used. As you can see, there's a box from one of those mini claw machines here. Not that one, but I have a different one that has like a blue top and it has like lights on it. Here's the box that has some holes in it. There's some duct tape I tried to reinforce it with once. This box right here, this is actually two boxes put right together. Now let's get a look. You can see there's the Ms. Pac-Man collection mappy, or whatever, collection 2 or whatever. Plug it in and play TV game up there. Macro this. And you can see the wires. The black wires are the AV wires, and you can kind of see two white wires there, or clear wires, believe it or not. They're actually clear. You can see the wire inside, but this camera can't really see it very well. Those two wires are the power wires that go to the AC adapter. You can kind of see the battery lid just kind of prying up a little bit from where it's being closed on top of those two wires. These two wires, the red and the blue, are the ones that go to the coin slot switch, which is just a limiter switch that has a roller on it. Turn up that light. Not sure you can see at that slot, but let's see if I can get that lined up. I'll just plug in the slot here. You can kind of see a little roller switch right there. And then when you put a coin in, this switch, it would push the switch, and it would simulate pushing the little button right here, which can start mappy, but it doesn't start any other games that are on here. It just serves as like another button, except for Ms. Pac-Man and Galaga. Ms. Pac-Man and Galaga are the only two games on here that don't use this button for anything. Okay, the quarter lands in this box. Yeah, I also have these found tokens. Found these at some point. They are level 3 arcade tokens. So yeah, the two wires just wire up in parallel to the button that triggers it. And there's a lot of hot glue and tape that goes into this thing. Let's go ahead and put this all back in here. Just kind of shove it in there. That, and when a quarter goes in, it lands in the box and collects it. Once again, it's the crappy mappy quarter container. Go ahead and close this up. This used to lock at some point, but because the cardboard's so worn out, I decided just to leave it able not to be locked or whatever. And the slot's original design, when I first made it work, was basically just a wire bypass, which would make it so when a quarter goes in the slot, it would touch two wires and complete the circuit for a brief second. But that was not very reliable, as half the time it didn't work. So that's why I bought that roller switch and decided to make it work at least 90% of the time. Other than the fact that I put these Namco decals on there. You can see it. There we go. There's Mappy. I try to draw him on here. His ears here are supposed to be pink, but that somehow rubbed off, even though it's laminated with a bunch of tape. Yeah, that's just a standard power bar, hot glued to back or the front of this cardboard or whatever. And we got this thermal take DC computer fan, like heavy duty little computer fan here. It's kind of like a mini box fan, runs on 12 volts DC, but it actually runs on 9 volts DC because that's what the AC adapter plugged into it outputs. Is about 9 volts DC. Sometimes it's a little more, but I don't know. Uses a Trinitron TV from Sony. The fact that this took a lot of time to glue up. You can see the AV cord right there. closer view of the buttons, the dials on here. We got the picture, the hue, the color, and the bright. The hue is like the tint on a TV, and like the thing that just like how pink or green it is. You know, you put it right in the middle, and it's just fine. In most cases, anyway. One more look into the power bank here. Not really a power bank because it doesn't have its own power supply. All the power comes from the grid or generator or whatever else it would be plugged into. It's plugged into the grid. See the little yellow orange switch that lights up when you turn it on. See that? So shut that off. There's the fan winding down. You can see the AV cord just kind of hangs there. And this door actually used to be part of what this used to be, the pool table that it used to be. And this was like the door you'd open to retrieve the balls that you'd drop in there. So, yeah, this is supposed to be glued right there. But it just kind of, over time, just kind of fell apart. And I tried reinforcing some of the pieces, some of this really weak cardboard with these. Just kind of glued them in place. Just stronger cardboard. It holds up okay, I guess. And then when the thing started to lean sideways, I put this there, which would stabilize it, because you can see there's like a accordion style crush right here. And it just like it's all crushed and bent like right here. I tried to tape it back together. That didn't work too well, so that's why I have this. Rinse it from being crunched and broken. Made out of the vacuum cleaner box. Bissell. 46 bucks. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about this thing. Yeah, this is Broken Solar Panel signing off.